Good evening, everyone. I'm Sojun Wei. And first of all, thank you all for joining today's talk, and especially thank you to Hui Ming for hosting this event, so that I have the opportunity to share what I have learned when building out the application. So the topic today for me is AI for everyday fiction. It's essentially about building a personal expense agent with Hermes, also using the MCP. This is not like about to advertise like the finance app, or to especially on the AI workflow or something like that. It's more sharing my experience at the entire journey in like building out this entire product lah. So let us just jump into it. So for this one, we will start out with explaining I got this idea to like build this thing out lah. So I think we can all agree that recording expense is a good habit lah, because you can know like where your money is going, where did you spend all your money at lah. But then before that, I actually always been using an app called Fortune City to record my expenses. It is actually a good application because it gamifies the experience. At the same time, I record the expense. I also like building out a city from it. But then eventually, I have been using it for already few years, and it eventually it getting feel a little bit tiresome, little bit or troublesome. Because you have to open the app and then key in manually everything by yourself, and then especially if you have a older model phone, or your phone is not like the gaming phone or something like that, then opening the app will take like a few seconds to do it. Then you can imagine like situation like when you are eating out with other people, and then after they check out, then you got the receipt and everything. Everyone want to leave already, but then you suddenly you need to record the expense, right? Then you have to go through all these steps, but everyone already go, so you feel a kind of awkward lah, because you want to record the expense and everyone is already want to leave already. And then maybe you can say, oh, maybe I will just record it later lah, but of course there will be cases where you forget to record the expense. So this is why I feel like maybe there is some easier way for me to record my expense for this typical use case lah. So the enemy here is not the expense tracking app. It's not to say like the tracking app is not good or anything. It's actually very good. It gamifies the experience. But the enemy is friction. Basically, you have to go through these little steps. It all builds up to frustration and keep me from keep using it, something like that. So what if, let's say this is what I imagine. What if the input can be made to be more effortless? Make it very easy for me to record expense. First of all, the basic idea is the text input. Something like, if let's say I just very simple phrase like 午餐 5.5, then immediately the AI agent will know, you are talking about, or you want to add expense record, your lunch, and 5.5 Malaysian ringgit, and then it will just store it entirely, the entire record in the database. Or even in some cases, maybe the expense is not so easy. Maybe it needs you do some arithmetic, some calculation. Maybe like wancan 10 ringgit plus something, and maybe you got your tax again. Maybe 6% tax. You also need to calculate that kind of stuff. Maybe you need to use calculator if, let's say, you are just using a regular expense tracking app. But then in this case, maybe I can just state it out, and then the AI agent will do all the calculation and then record it in the database. Or even better, all of this, I can just use a voice message. I just record like a user. I just say, dinner 10.5 plus 3.5, something like that. And then the AI agent will be able to and then just record in the database. Or even better, right? You got the receipt. I just take a photo of the receipt and say nothing else. Then the AI agent will directly create the record and add the attachment of the receipt to this particular record. So this is the idea that I try to build earlier on. And so, more specific on the implementation. So it basically will be designed like this. So previously, with the idea that at that time also quite popular. The OpenClaw, and also the Hermes agent is quite popular at the time also lah. I'm also trying to explore about that. So it is convenient lah. So this idea, and then I think maybe that one entire system can be top of that or OpenClaw and the Hermes agent. So that one we will use the Telegram as the primary platform to send my message through lah. And then the AI will basically do the category detection, and then it extract the necessary information, text, all of that, and then all of that will be saved to the database. And then all of the records will be visible in the dashboard. So the agent will not only be just chatting with me like that lah. It will actually perform the real action through the use of tools. And that is why we will have to use MCP, which I chose in this particular use case. For this one, I will quickly demo a little bit what I have built over the case. And through demo, I will just show one is the Telegram and the second is the dashboard. So if you can see my Telegram over here, this is how I use the Telegram right now. I have used it for quite like a month already. So I buy snacks and then have some voice messages. So you can see it records all of into the database using the MCP. Today my ChatGPT got expired, so I have to subscribe again. And then have some voice message, if all of you can hear or not. Okay, something like this. So you extract the information required and then just record it into the database. And also like a photo of receipt, right? Photo of receipt like this. Go to my news, buy some breakfast, and then it will just get all of this and then record it into it. And then initially when I built this, it is just a AI agent, the Telegram, something like that. But then I figured out let's say it had mistake, or I have to I prefer to manually edit this entire myself, right? So I also need the custom control, manual control. And that's why I also use AI to build out a dashboard which connect to the SQLite database, and then this come out. For the entrance, it basically got a dashboard, something like this. So this month expenses, all the category, all the charts and all the stuff. And then you can see record expenses, like something like this. And then for example, if let's say I have uploaded the receipt, right, it can be attached over here. So I can see the receipt like this. So the receipt just now is all attached in here. Right. So this is the demo flow. So let's touch a bit about the entire architecture of this actually built out of. So from over here, from us user side, right, we have text message, we have voice input, speech input, and also it can also be a receipt photo. And all of these will be sent through the Telegram platform, although there is also other platform that you can set up, like WhatsApp or anything. And then all of this infrastructure, I host it inside the Oracle Cloud. Actually, Oracle Cloud is quite generous. They provide a virtual private server service for free, and the resource provided generous. So if you need something hosted like 24 hours, you can check that out. So all of this is inside the Oracle Cloud, and then in the Docker container, primarily built on top of the Hermes agent container. I just add some of my personal dashboard inside it. And then, yes, this is the primary Hermes agent. All of the messages from Telegram will go through it. And then for the speech to text, Hermes agent actually support several options. Like, for example, the Whisper model hosted locally. But then because those AI models will need some resources, so for my case, it will only be limited to Whisper small model. which can be quite inaccurate. At the same time, Hermes agent support the Grok free API for the large model. So actually quite nice. The rate limit is quite hard to free limit is quite rich lah. So it's enough for my use case lah. And for the model that I primarily use the Open Router. Open Router, I choose the Q1 3.5 27B for the primary reasoning lah. It needs to charge money for that lah. That one needs to charge money. But it is pay as you go usage. But right now haven't exceed like 10 USD, something like that. So up until now, so it can be considered quite cheap. Maybe a message only 0.01 cents, something like that. And for the receipt photo, it needs to pass the image. So the Open Router will automatically use the Gemini Flash Vision model. Then we have the two execution layer. This one is the MCP that is also developed for it. Because you have this agent, it reads the message and then it has to perform the insert to the database. But then for inserting to the database, if I also don't want it to always generate the SQL and then insert it by itself every time, because that one let's say I clear the session and then next time it don't know it generate the SQL, or maybe it download some tool and then insert the database. So it's very unpredictable. So I have to create an MCP and then provide some tools for it to correctly insert the data to the database. That one I will elaborate in the following slides. And then the database is SQLite, and then this one to store the images is basically a folder inside the Docker container. And then lastly, I have a dashboard, the admin interface using the Next.js. Yes. So this one basically the topic just now. Many people when they set up their Hermes or maybe the OpenClaw agent, they will just think maybe they will just I just directly prompt it I want to save this thing, help me to save this thing, help me to send that thing and something like that. So that one is okay to use, but then it will break. Also, you have to also deal with the agent being unpredictable at times, because LLM by itself is AI model. It is unpredictable. So you cannot expect it will do the things the same way. Even if you create a skill to it, there is always some certain degree of the unpredictability in it. So if let's say you just use the prompt, if you have to re-explain those or always repeatedly, there is a chance of it being inconsistent. There also at the same time it will use more token also. And then if let's say, because I cannot just keep the session keep going like that, the session eventually it will have to either compact or I have to clear out the session, and then it will just magically forget or prompt it earlier before. And also the model may invent the process by itself. Maybe invent the process and then you feel that one is not what I want. You ask it to fix, and then there's more token used. Yeah. So this is why I chose to develop a MCP. MCP is actually MCP will show how the MCP is actually in the next slide. But it's actually, you can think of it like API, but more suitable for the AI. It actually on top of because it also got endpoints. It's actually called tools over here, but it's actually API endpoints. But you also code the logic behind every endpoint. But then on top of every endpoint, you also add a description for the AI, explaining how you would use this tool, what is the input schema, and then what is the output will be format kind of like that. So by using MCP, it will provide with name tools, required fields, valid categories, validation rules, predictable outputs. And also it will be reusable. So this MCP, like an API server, you can just throw it everywhere the agent also can use. The MCP, if let's say one day I decided to go back to Claw or something like that, this MCP can also be applied to it. So the core message is that MCP will reduce your guesswork by giving the agent a more well-defined tool boundary. So a little bit you can see on this MCP. So You can see it almost like an API. Like, for example, this add expense tool over here, you also provide it with an amount, a category, which is defined of the category you are allowed to pass in. And also the description, the date, and also additional remarks had to. And also a calculate tool over here. A little bit about this calculate tool, because when AI do the math, sometimes it will get wrongly. I have experience with it before when I tell it like the food plus the beverage, then it come out with a wrong number when I try to calculate it myself. And so figure it out right now, maybe best way is let him it to like every time you have to do some calculation, call this function. Don't calculate it by yourself, okay? So so basically this MCP also by AI. I just tell the AI what I need for and develop it as a AI as a MCP server, and then it just come all of this. It's basically not developed in Node.js. So this one, the main takeaway is that when you develop an application, you have to like split it into two parts. One is the fuzzy input. Fuzzy input is like, for example, natural language, like the 午餐, 陪伴, that one is a fuzzy input. That is not always be the case for the computer. So that one for AI, they perform the best in it. But like inserting the record into the database and everything is deterministic behavior, and that one is best performed by AI, not by tools like we define the logic like using the MCP or using CLI, everything like that. So for fuzzy input, we use AI. For hard rules like money validation and calculation, we define tools for the AI to use. That one is the best scenario, which I think. And then this one is basically more like what I feel after like develop of this stuff. Like there is always a feeling like AI is going to replace us, right? But then right now my thought on this is actually AI will not remove developers, but if we are undergoing a transformation. We have to change like what our primary daily job as a developer is using AI. It changes what we have to focus on. Previously, we always do the manual coding and everything, right? And we have to code everything by ourselves. Then we got like Copilot, the auto-complete, just tap, and then everything. And right now, the AI already help us to like, I just prompt the AI, it just help us to code out of all of this stuff. So right now, I think our responsibility will have a little bit of the shift. Maybe previously we do 20% of the design and then 80% of like coding out the thing that we want to build. But right now, maybe we have to shift it more like 80% of designing and deciding on what we have to build out, and then tell the AI to build, to code it out, and then we verify the result ourselves. So we move more like from a coder to become an orchestrator of the AI, and then to become an architect. That is what I thought. A normal regular AI user asks the AI to solve the problem, but we as a developer will go and design how AI is allowed to solve the problem at the hand. To problem, and we cannot let it like go wild or do whatever you need, because AI cannot see the picture that we can see. AI will just like, you tell me what to do, I will do whatever it takes to reach that goal that you give me. So we have to give it like the constraint and the restrictions that is to like achieve what we want. So we don't just code, we design how the AI is allowed to act. So basically this is the part where we have to identify which part of it is like fuzzy input and which part is deterministic deterministic action when we are developing a AI application. We cannot just entirely depend everything throw to AI and expect AI to do the stuff to us. We have to know like, which one of the job is actually best performed by AI and which part of it is best performed by the set of rules, predefined rules, which is deterministic, like natural language understanding or voice or messy phrasing, and also the receipt interpretation. All of this is fuzzy input, and that one is what the AI do best. But then for deterministic action, like like from the message, like Wuchan is basically categorized food, and then maybe like petrol and everything. That one is categorized as transport. That one category validation is validation and not categorization. If categorization is still the fuzzy input best performed by AI, but then if let's say I only have a limited amount of the category that I define the database can have, that one is deterministic and has to be set the rules. And also text and calculation, we have used tools for that. Data validation, database write, summary, and also attachment handling. All of these best to have a predefined set of rules. We don't want the AI to be like for right now, or maybe it has one it just generate a SQL by itself to insert database. Later in the next time when you like clear the session, it just somehow come up with it code an entire the framework for you to insert into the database or something like that. That one is very unpredictable, and we don't want that in our AI application. So we have a little bit of like mentioned here. Previously, I have also discussed with Hui-Ming, and we discussed on whether we should use MCP or CLI. And the core message, the way is, I think like that, is how much guesswork do we want to leave to the AI? If let's say CLI is like just in the terminal, and the AI will just generate the command inside the terminal, right? So if let's say for my use case over here, like the expense tracking application, at the end, if let's say I develop the entire tool set inside the CLI, I also need to a guideline for the AI to understand or how do I use this command, unless it's a very popular command, a git command, or maybe like the one in Linux, all of that. That one AI is already has been assisted for a long time. AI probably very familiar with it. That one is no problem to use the CLI. The CLI is the AI is already trained on many of the CLI commands. So for those popular commands, AI will have no problem working with it. But let's say if I have developed a custom toolset, and then I also need to attach like, you need to call this tool when you want to do what thing. Maybe what are the inputs arguments that you have to pass in, what shape, what kind of the input is allowed to have. And then also when during the error, it will need to return the error message. Then the error message will also need to be properly formatted for the AI to understand or what goes wrong, and also what output structure the AI needs, and what output the AI has to expect when the tool call is success. So if let's say I have to build all of these things, actually the will still be MCP, because MCP you call the tool, and then it also will list out like this endpoint, this tool what the description will describe when you should be calling this tool, and then what are the input arguments, what schema you will have, and also the output structure that will be returned to the AI. So this is the takeaway. So basically, when deciding whether to MCP or CLI, you still can use CLI if let's say the operation don't have to be so like well defined, something like that. So of course, the application is still far from perfect. There is still some areas of improvement. For example, like for the to text, like like with the text, right? I have 6%. I just say 6%, and then you will add 6%, and then it will calculate it like 6.8% or 68%, something like that. And then also for the receipt, the sometimes I just maybe in the lunch I just say lunch 5.5 ringgit, and then for the dinner I just upload a receipt, and then if you think that receipt is actually the lunch receipt, and then just tell me that maybe you want to attach the receipt, and then there is also the text and calculation error lah. But then this one area is still going to be improved lah. And because of the time I rush a bit lah. This is the next step improvement lah. A little bit of introduce lah. This one is actually a personality that I'm trying to like add into the over here. This one called Aurea, and then basically the character I just generally using the ChatGPT like it will be a character to inside this finance checking assistant to give it a more of a and then there is still many improvements to be done in the later phase. So okay, so to conclude this PPT, so basically we don't have to always find a huge AI project idea to get started to using the AI. We can just observe from our life, like maybe we got some friction doing this and doing that. We just start from small friction and then try to see how AI can actually help us to improve the workflow and everything, and use AI for fuzzy understanding part of the application, use tool for deterministic action, and then we as developers, we will design the boundary for what the AI is allowed to use. I strongly believe this is the correct way for us developers to use the AI. So I think that's all for today. Thank you everyone. So the Q&A section. So any questions?
Maybe I go first. So actually I'm very curious on the part that you say you are integrating the Telegram with the Hermes AI agent. Actually, because I was getting from you also, because I saw you are doing the AI budget tracking. So actually, I also wonder that is it I also can do it. So I think this week I just try it during my time to develop my own AI budget tracking itself also. But my agent is actually using the cloud, the desktop, and then I building the connector to my own MCP server and then do it like a API endpoint. There is a expenses, all those inside my NCP server endpoint. So I just configure URL inside the cloud desktop to do the connection. So I just very curious about how Hermes can work with the Telegram.
Actually, it's like this. If let's say for Hermes, it is hosted like 24 hours on my Docker container inside my virtual private server. And when setting up the Hermes agent, it will essentially ask you for the channel, they call it channel. And then for it, it will like ask for the Telegram token that you will get when you set up the Telegram bot. And then how it is actually getting the message, it is doing polling. It's like for over some time, for some interval of time, it will go hit the Telegram. Do this bot have new in or no? Then I wait for like few seconds, and then I just ask again. Or do it have like a new message coming in? No. Then repeat, rinse and repeat.
I see. So like a breakout page job, if you run it like every minute or every period, we'll call this Telegram to see there's any new message coming in.
Then that one inside the Hermes or the OpenClaw, this concept they call it. They have a service for it. They call it the gateway. If you see the term gateway, it essentially means this channel service message, and also some on top of other things like they've got the com job, the heartbeat, and everything like that.
I see. Okay. I think that's the question for me. Okay, thank you.
Very good question. Any other questions?
No question. I have a quick one. Does it support WhatsApp?
For Hermes, I'm not sure, but OpenClaw, so far OpenClaw is support most of the channel, even line, everything like that. For Hermes, I'm not sure. Oh, okay. It supports WhatsApp, but it will take more steps for it to configure because Telegram you just prompt a bot and then the bot will just appear already.
Okay, so actually Telegram is provide the token. So is it the WhatsApp also provide the token for us to connect to get the data from the WhatsApp?
I think so lah. I haven't. Yes lah.
Yeah, they have because I did something similar also.
Oh.
Yeah.
So basically like that. So no more questions.
Oh, I have one more. Do you plan to open source this project?
Eventually, I got plan to upload it to my personal GitHub after I have added the personality inside lah. Like update a little bit, fix a thing here and there, and then I will upload it to my GitHub. And then I plan to also like make a Docker container lah. So I just one command and everything, including the dashboard, will be set up like that. But recently with the work, so less time for me to work on this project lah.
Then once you open source it, let us know.
Yeah, I will inform it the group. I will also it on the personal profile, something like that lah. Okay. Any other questions? Another question.
Can you go back to there's one slide regarding the token the whisper something, long whisper and short
the architecture.
whisper. Because you mentioned that there's a whisper large. May I know the whisper large? It is like, let's say, because just now I noticed the Telegram whisper message is around like 8 seconds. The whisper large, is it like referring your voice message can like 1 minute or something?
I think the main like the model, because the whisper model is actually from OpenAI. OpenAI, they released the open source voice to text. Yes, voice to text model. And the difference between small and large is essentially like the models like 27B, 100B, something like that. How accurate it will affect how accurate the output of the speech to text functionality lah. Like for example, if let's say my voice is a little bit unclear, maybe on the small model it will come out incorrect, but on the large model, because it trained on more, it got more parameters, and then it will just come out more correct lah. The main difference is the accuracy of the result lah. But at the same time, it more resource compute resource.
How about the daily usage limit? The one is the usage limit is based on how much that is produced in the voice message, and then it converts to text. That is the usage limit, right?
It's like this lah. If you decided to host the whisper model be yourself, there is no limit lah. The limit is your computer. Then for this Grok free API, I think like one day it have like 200. It calculate based on request lah. You like hit how many requests, and then is it request or I think seconds? How the total length of the voice you send in the day for it to process. Yeah.
That's all from me anymore.
Okay, so quick question: you are using Grok free API or Whisper?
Initially, I host the Whisper model locally on the virtual private server, but it only can host until the model, and then the result is a little bit inaccurate. Then I see it also provide the Grok free API. This Grok free API is actually also a service provider and it hosts the Whisper model also, but it only provides Whisper large. So after changing to it, the accuracy is increased lah.
Okay. Any other question? If not, I think that's all. Thank you, Junwei.
Okay, thank you everyone for listening.